Vitam tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanitanscha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavadishwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Mukham Karoti Vasalam Bhangam Bangayate Giram Yat Kripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna to everybody. Welcome to our Gita Sandesh session. Today's chapter.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna. You are able to hear me okay?
Yes, Mataji.
So today we will do chapter 16. But before we do that, we'll just take a quick look at chapter 15. So chapter 15 was called the Yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottama Yoga. So we started with the analogy of whether this is home or a hotel room. So imagine you are in the hotel and you are investing a lot of time and energy in making this hotel a very comfortable place. So you make a lot of elaborate arrangements to stay here. Even though you know that ultimately you will have to depart. You can't stay permanently in this hotel. You could say this hotel is your body. And you have to give it up at the end of this life and then begin a new journey in another hotel room and another hotel room. So it doesn't make sense for us to invest so much time and energy in a hotel room because it's temporary. So the analogy that Krishna begins with is the upside down banyan tree. And the purpose of this analogy is to help us detach ourselves from this hotel because it's temporary, it's transient, and it is encouraging us to seek the truth. Where is our real home? Our real home is in the spiritual world. Therefore, the Lord says, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. That means this upside down banyan tree is an analogy to say that the material world is a reflection. It's just a reflection of the spiritual world. Just like a banyan tree reflected on a body of water. While both of them look identical because one is just the shadow of the other or reflection of the other, they may look the same, but they don't give you the same results. So the spiritual world is where you have absolute reality, you have absolute happiness, absolute Satchidananda. And if you look at it in the material world, we are caught up in so many false propositions, so many illusions. And the more illusion is there in how we view everything around us, it creates more confusion. It creates more frustration. Because whatever it is that you get in this material world, there is nothing substantial about it. So it's like the living beings are like the bird on the tree. The bird is just moving from branch to branch to taste the flower, to taste the fruit. And gets frustrated searching which flower, which fruit, which object will actually keep me permanently happy here. So that is the illusion. And Krishna is another bird on this tree, just simply and sitting and watching everything. He's just witnessing what we are engaged in. So Krishna is saying it is better you detach yourself from this illusion and go in search of the permanent solution. The permanent solution is to go back to Krishna. So essentially everything that we're doing here is upside down. So once we're convinced of that, then we will make an effort to get out of here. Krishna then talks about the transmigration. He says that the living entity carries his different conceptions of life, and then using these conceptions, he goes from body to body to body. So if air is passing over a field of roses, then the air will pick up the smell of the roses. If air is passing over a drainage, it'll pick up the smell of the drainage. So if you have done a lot of pious activities, then you'll get a body as a reward to enjoy those pious activities. If you have committed a lot of sinful activities, then you will get a body that will help you experience the punishment for those sinful activities. So Krishna says you may get a particular type of ear, nose, hair, etc. All based on what your own desires were. So how do you get a body? It's your unfulfilled desires from your previous life, plus what is in your karmic account. And then the Lord has to also see, have you done any spiritual activity? Using all three. And under the supervision of Krishna, Prakriti gives us a particular type of body. But primarily we understand that we get this body because of our past karma. Normally we don't speak about unfulfilled desires as much as we speak about karma. And then Krishna says in this chapter, the only people who approach him are those who are materially exhausted. They are fed up with trying to improve their circumstances. They come to the conclusion that something is wrong with this picture and there must be something better. So in that sense, Queen Kunti actually makes this prayer in the Bhagavatam, where she says, my Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. Because one who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feeling. So the sincerity comes when the sincerity to approach Krishna comes when we are exhausted. We have searched for all kinds of answers and we're not able to find anything that is satisfactory. Then Krishna talks about how he is maintaining this body, this planet, this universe, our mind, our soul. Everything is maintained by Krishna. So he gives us examples like, I am the fire of digestion in the body of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 different kinds of food items that he is seated in everybody's heart. And from him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And ultimate goal of studying the Vedas is to discover who is the Supreme Lord, who you are, and what relationship you have with him. And the conclusion happens with the Shloka Gita in Shloka 16, 17, and 18. All of Vedas are condensed in these 3 shlokas. Whereas in the 10th chapter, all of Bhagavad Gita is condensed in that 4 shlokas. So it begins with, there are 2 sets of Jivatmas, Kshara and Akshara. Kshara is those Jivatmas who have fallen or who have been separated from Krishna. And Akshara is those who are eternally with Krishna. They are called the Nityasiddhas. And then Krishna says, all the fallible Jivatmas are in this universe. All the infallible Jivatmas are actually in the spiritual world. Then he says there is one more entity, personality that is superior to both this Kshara and Akshara, which is the Paramatma. And then finally he says, if you get to know who I am, I as in Bhagavan, then you'll make your way back to me. Therefore, the single word summary was GPS, which is the Vedas, since we're in the Jnana Yoga section of the Bhagavad Gita. So even if you're interested in the Vedas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, it will take you a very long time to come to this conclusion that this place is a miserable place. But anyway, there is also a direction for you to go back to the spiritual world if you follow the Vedic scriptures. Therefore, Krishna is teaching us, open your eyes, open your heart, discover the reality. Don't be caught up in pursuing your material dreams, because that's all it is. It's a dream. No matter what you do, you are always going to be unhappy. You're going to be dissatisfied, actually. So that is what Krishna is talking about in the 15th chapter. And now Krishna is going to segue into who is there in this material world and what kind of people are residing in this jail cell. Because we're not alone. Of course, the Jivatma has to make its journey alone. But otherwise, we're not alone in this jail. Many of us occupying this jail cell. So, Daiva, Asura, Sampad, Vibhaga, Yoga, Daiva and Asura. These are the 2 types of people who live in this material world. So, Krishna is going to talk about the divine nature and the demoniac nature. He will expand on the demoniac nature. And he will also talk about how we can make a choice. What is the choice? We can cultivate divine qualities, or we can cultivate our demoniac qualities. Of course, we know what the answer is. We want to cultivate divine qualities. So what are the divine qualities Krishna is talking about? Many of them, 26 divine qualities. Of course, it's not limited to 26, but these are the 26. And then Krishna will talk about the demoniac qualities. So the first 3 shlokas, Krishna is talking about fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivating spiritual wisdom, charity, self-control, performing sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, an aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all beings, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude. Fortitude means strength, inner strength, cleanliness, freedom from envy, and from freedom from passion for honor. These are the qualities that the devotees have. So how do you cultivate these divine qualities? We've already given you the ABCD formula, association of devotees, which means you have to take the association of devotees so that you don't go on the path of asuras. You have to study the books, you have to read regularly, you have to chant the holy names of the Lord. And diet and prasadam, the mind will be purified with thoughts, and the senses also will be controlled. And you can say deity worship also. So this is the ABCD formula. Okay, then if you look at the divine and demoniac, on the demoniac side, Krishna is listing only 6 qualities that demoniac people have: pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. So really we have to work to reduce these 6 in us. That's what Krishna is saying. Many of us will struggle with this because we've become habituated. We've trained ourselves to act in a certain way. So here Krishna is saying, the title for the chapter is coming from here. Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandhaya surimata mahasuchav sampadam daivim abhijatosi pandava. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with divine qualities. If we look at fearlessness, many of us from the temple went to watch the Narsimha movie that's been released. The, what do you call it? The movie about the Narsimha avatar. So when you watch that movie and you also read about Prahlad Maharaj, the first thing that comes to your mind is that Prahlad is fearless. Even though he's so young, fearless because he has faith that the Lord will protect him as long as he continues chanting. Finding faults is also a problem for us. Many of us tend to engage in this activity quite a bit. So once Yamaraj came for a very young person, saying, it's time for you to go. And the young man said, but then I'm still so young. I have still some more life to live. Yamaraj said, you've collected so many sins simply by finding fault with others. You've collected so many sins. Yeah, if you don't want to die, then you have to be punished. So the young man asks, okay, I will readily accept my punishment. Tell me, what is that punishment? And Yamaraj says, you have to have a mountain of insects. You have to consume them. The young man says, I can't do that. How can you expect me to consume all these insects? Then Yamaraj says, okay, if you don't want to do that as your punishment, then you sit under a palm tree and just drink a glass of milk. What will happen is that people passing by will think you're a drunkard, that you're having toddy, and they'll start criticizing you. And the minute they start criticizing you, your karmic reactions will transfer to them. They will take it. So if anybody comments that you're drinking alcohol, since they have falsely accused you, they will immediately be rewarded with all your sins. So you have to be so careful of fault finding. When we find fault with others, that comes like a boomerang back onto you. So in this way, we have to be so careful about so many different qualities. Then Krishna is saying, pravrittam cha nivrittam cha janana vidur asuraha na shaucham na pichacharaha na satyam teshu vidyate Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor truth is found in them. So predominantly, Krishna is saying these are the behavior that is exhibited by somebody who's under the influence of demoniac qualities. And this is influenced by the three gunas. So if there is no cleanliness, there's no proper behavior, then you are under the influence of good. If you look at Hiranyakashipu, what guna would he be under the influence of? Rajul. Because he wanted something desperately. He wanted Vishnu's position. He wanted Vishnu's title. He wanted Vishnu's kingdom. He thought he could dislodge Vishnu from his position, which itself is quite foolish. But when you have raging ambition, then you lose sight of what is right and wrong. Which is why we said, if you want to clean out all of this anarthas within you, you should come to the early morning program so you can do your chanting, you can do a little listening, and you start your day on a positive note in the early morning hours. So Krishna talks about these qualities, right? But they are also linked to the 4 pillars of dharma. So the four pillars that maintains dharma in any society is truthfulness, compassion, austerity, cleanliness. So truthfulness means satyam. So when we gamble, eventually as part of the process, we will try to lie because we will do anything to win. So if there is too much gambling in society, then satyam will deteriorate. Daya or compassion. If there is too much of meat eating in society, then the impact of that is that the compassion in human beings will reduce because they become insensitive to killing. They just kill without even thinking, I am putting some flesh in my mouth. They don't even think about it. Then austerity. With austerity, if there is a lot of intoxication in society, drinking alcohol, that means you're not able to find that inner strength to do tapa. So definitely people who are intoxicated, if there's too much intoxication in society, the ability of society to tolerate and do things that are, for their own good, that will reduce. And then if there is illicit sex, it reduces cleanliness. Right? So the 4 pillars of dharma, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, we were talking about how do you encourage others to do the same thing. And I said, we have to first work on ourselves and be who we want to be before we can take this message to others. But each one of us has to practice and maintain and protect these 4 pillars. So if we are eating meat, then we are not helping society. If we are engaged in intoxicants, then we are not helping. If you are engaged in gambling or illicit sex, then certainly dharma will get destroyed. So in that sense, each of us has a responsibility. So from shloka 7 to 20, Krishna is talking about what is the outcome of those who cultivate or demonstrate this demoniac behavior. First of all, they don't have a sense of what is right or wrong, what should be done and what should not be done. They are not able to discriminate. Of course, they are not following scriptures. They tend to be very selfish. They engage in a lot of improper behavior. There's no truthfulness, no cleanliness. They do not follow social, ethical morals. And that is the challenge. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds of thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. So they are ready to do even illegal things just to satisfy their needs, their wants. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Definitely, Hiranyakashipu was envious of Lord Vishnu, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others and blaspheme against the real religion. Even though they can't do a single thing without the help of Paramatma, still they make Paramatma their enemy number one, unfortunately for them. And so, as Prabhupada says, the Lord puts them in a bewildered position. They get so confused. They don't know what is right and wrong. I'm sure some of you have come across people like this in your life who seem to be terribly confused, who are doing so many wrong things, but they don't think they're doing anything wrong. So the first thing is diagnosis. So if you've diagnosed what your problem is, which is the cultivation of these demoniac tendencies, then you can seek a treatment. And the treatment is very simple. It's that ABCD formula. Krishna says, ultimately, it's these three things that lead you to hell. Trividham narakasyedam dvaram nashanam kamah krodha tatha lobha tasmadetat trayam tyajet. There are three grades leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So, in conclusion, Krishna is saying, if you give up these three things, never-ending desires, if those desires are satisfied, it leads to greed. If those desires are not satisfied, it leads to anger. Remember, in the third chapter, Krishna said, lust is your eternal enemy. So every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Now, how do you understand this in the context of wanting to be ambitious with maybe financial goals or other goals? You do whatever is necessary to maintain a simple life, but Prabhupada says we should never overextend ourselves in such a way that Krishna is no longer part of our life. If we are able to manage both, which is have some ambition, but at the same time to stay deeply connected to Krishna, then that is ideal. If you can't do both, then you have to recalibrate. What is it that you really want? So these Asuras, because they have so many desires, they become trapped. And because of that, they will engage in unethical practices. So we always say the government is corrupt. But the government is only corrupt because we are willing to look the other way when we have to do what we need to do to get things resolved. So we are also feeding that corruption. So one person, he was accepting bribes in the state government. And his friends always give him good counsel, saying, see, it's going to come back. It'll impact your family, it'll impact you, which is true. If you take bribes, you have to pay a heavy price for it. And your family will also pay a heavy price. So the friends tell this gentleman, you already would have accumulated so many sins. Why do you want to make your situation worse? But he would never listen to them. So after he retired with a lot of money, as a result of collecting bribes, he falls severely sick, and so sick that there is no cure for that sickness in India. To get some advanced treatment, he has to go abroad. So his friends tell him, see, we warned you. You should not collect bribes because that is tainted money. Tainted money means adharma, and that will have a severe impact. But even then, he could not understand. He said, what do you mean? Had I listened to you, I would not have had the money to have the treatment. It's because I collected the bribe that I'm able to go abroad to have this treatment. So I'm very happy that I did not listen to you. See, the friends could not make him understand that had he not taken the bribes, maybe the sickness would not have befallen on him, because he did not understand how karma operates. Somewhere or the other, we have to pay a price. So, so the three gates to hell: lust, anger, and greed. So sometimes we may think, if so many bad things are happening, and the Lord says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. He comes whenever there is a decline in religion and increase in practice of your religion. If there is so much irreligion happening today, why Lord has not come? And that's the question you can ask. So the problem is that, unlike in previous yugas, in Kali Yuga, both the demoniac and Daivi qualities are there in all of us. In other yugas, it was different. In Satya Yuga, the Daivi qualities used to be in one planet and the Asuric qualities used to be in another planet. Then in Treta Yuga, they came on the same planet. In Dwapar Yuga, they came into the same family. And in Kali Yuga, it is in one single person. So how will Krishna come? Who will he kill? Who is his devotee and who is not his devotee? Who is adharmic? Because many of us lead a combined life. Sometimes we are dharmic, sometimes we are adharmic. So who is going to be protected by Krishna and who is he going to kill? Then Krishna has to come and kill all of us, because that's the situation in Kali Yuga. So therefore Krishna decides that in Kali Yuga, I really can't come to kill, but I can give my Harinam, and that is my weapon. So the only weapon in Kali Yuga that can fight this demoniac tendency is Nama Japa. Therefore, Krishna comes back as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to propagate Harinam Sankirtan. You do Harinam Sankirtan, then slowly your sins are getting wiped away. So this is the only way the Lord is able to protect us in Kali Yuga. Of course, we know that at the end of this Kali Yuga, one avatar will come. Huh? What is that avatar that we have heard about? The Kalki avatar. Prabhupada says that Kalki avatar, the only job is to do killing, killing, and more killing. No question of dharma, no question. It is just killing of all of the Kshatriya class, or whoever, people who are adharmic. That of course will happen towards the end, not now. So this is the challenge for us. Why the Lord is not coming? Because he has a tough job. He would rather you use the medicine of Nama Japa to cure yourself and make your way back to him. So here Krishna is saying, Yashastra vidhim utsrijya vartate kamakaratah nasas siddhim mavapnoti nasukam naparam gatim. He who discards spiritual injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. So that is the challenge, is we are not following scriptures. That means Krishna is saying all of this is happening when we think we can do whatever we want. We don't have to listen to Krishna. We don't have to listen to acharyas. We can decide for ourselves what's right and what's wrong. So really, we have an opportunity to choose here. So there was a person who was very miserly. No matter what anybody asked, he would never give, even if he had it in abundance. So if somebody came knocking on his door and he was asked, can you please give me this? He would immediately point the finger to the neighbor's door and say, they have it, you can go ask them. One day he dies in this way without doing any charity, and he goes to hell. And in hell, there is a description in Garuda Purana, what all happens to you. You're dipped in boiling oil and you can hear only screams in hell. So he was put into hot oil. This whole body was burning. But Chitragupta had also instructed that they should worship that one finger that was pointing to the door of the neighbor each time somebody asked for charity or something. This finger was being offered chandan, but the rest of the body was being boiled. So this person is curious, why are you applying chandan only to my finger? And why the rest of my body is burning? So Chitragupta says that finger has done a little bit of good deed. No, it is pointed to the house where there are good people who engage in charity. So if at all you get credit, you get a little credit for that. So we are worshipping that one finger because that finger at least is pious or engaged in pious activity or pointed to the house where good people are. So he says, oh, I didn't know that. He begs for forgiveness and he says, can you please return me to my original body? I have learned my lesson. But Chitragupta says, that's an unusual request, but we will process your request. We give you back your body and we'll put you back in that same house that you used to live in. So now he's back in that same house and saints come knocking on the door asking for bhiksha. And this time, what this gentleman does is, instead of pointing his finger to the neighbor's house, he rotates his whole body and says, that direction, you have to go there. But this time he's used his whole body. See, if people want to violate laws or take advantage, they'll figure out ways to do that. It's called gaming the system. So he thought, okay, since last time I only used my finger, this time I'll use my whole body to point in the right direction. So that means he had not learned anything. This is asuric behavior. No matter how many lessons come your way, there's just no way that you're making any change in your life. Yeah. So essentially here, Krishna is saying, we have to follow Shastra. We can't make decisions on our own because we don't know what decision is going to lead to what consequence. So ultimately, we all have the choice. The choice is, do we want to engage in activities that help us in self-realization or in degradation? Do we want to follow the rules in Shastra or do we want to do whatever we want? Do we want to escape the gates of hell, lust, anger, and greed? Or do we want to wallow in sorrow and distress? Do we want to achieve the supreme goal or do we want to fall down further into lower species? Yeah. So the choice is ours. So that's exactly what Krishna is saying here. You want to go down the path of Daiva or do you want to go down the path of Asura? So you have a choice and Krishna will not interfere. You have to make the right choice on your own. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya vyavasthitau gyatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartumir arhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So Krishna is coming back to duty. He says, first you understand what is your duty. And duty comes from your varnashrama. What does the Shastra say you need to do? So first perform those duties. Act according to the rules and regulations. Because if you do that, just doing your duties, Krishna will emphasize in chapter 18 again, is that it'll purify you. So we have to focus on our duties and responsibility. We cannot give it up. Therefore, I said Krishna is not encouraging you to abandon everything and just do your bhajan in Vrindavan or somewhere else. That's not what Krishna is advocating in the Bhagavad Gita. That will create such chaos in society. If every man decides, I can't handle my family, I'll just go to Vrindavan and do my bhajan, then what will happen to society? So therefore, Krishna is leaving it up to us. Do we want to follow Shastra or we don't want to follow Shastra? If we follow Shastra, then it'll slowly, we will come to that point of elevation. When you come to that point of elevation, then maybe you're ready to practice Krishna consciousness. And in this way, you can start your journey of going back home because you don't want to stay in this hotel. The nice thing is that Krishna clears your bills in this hotel. You have accumulated so much cost staying in this hotel. So Krishna wipes out your debt so that you can exit this hotel. Therefore, Maya Devi does not trouble you. Yes, so you are under the protection of Yoga Maya when you become a devotee of Krishna. So we'll stop here. What is the single word summary on the poster today that you saw? Does anybody remember? What's on the poster as a single word summary for the 16th chapter? So any
Inmates.
Inmates. Who are the inmates? People with Daivi and Asura qualities. They are our fellow, what do you call it? Jail friends. We're all in jail. So we're all on the same boat. So Krishna is saying, avoid the people who have Asuric qualities. Take association of those who have Daivi qualities. So the choice is ours. Because we're in this jail, who do we want to actually spend time with? Okay, any questions? No questions? Okay. So tomorrow we will come back to the topic of three gunas. Because Arjuna is going to ask a question in the beginning of the 17th chapter. He said, okay, so you've talked about people with faith and people with no faith. But what will happen to those who are in between? They have faith. They may not have faith in the Supreme Lord. They may not have faith in scriptures, but they have faith in some rituals. So which guna are they under the influence of? And how do they conduct themselves? And what is going to be their destination? So that will be the question that Arjuna asks. So Krishna will say, well, they are also under the influence of three gunas. So even if they don't have, even if they're not following the scriptures, but they're following something, whatever that something is, whether it is based on scriptures or based on their own fantasy or something that is cultural, then Arjuna will ask what will happen to them. Where will they go? They're not following scriptures, but at the same time, They are also not demoniac. They are not violating scriptures. They've just come up with their own practices. So that is going to be Arjuna's question. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. No questions? All right. So then we'll see you tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Thank you, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.